Welcome aboard the Ear to There podcast, the podcast that'll help you vacation like a pro in any Disney destination. For those of you standing, please sit down and hold on throughout our journey and get ready to learn how to have the time of your life. And now, here's your host, Phil Gramlich.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There podcast. I'm your host, Phil Gramlich. I'm also the owner and operator of Ear to There Travel, which is a Disney specialized travel agency. It's my job to help you have the best possible Disney vacation by taking away the stress and anxiety of planning a trip so you can focus on the fun things like your family and enjoying the magic. You can find the podcast, my blog, or request a free quote over at eartotheretravel.com. Now grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show.
Think I should go faster? Yeah! Come here, anybody, faster! Yeah! Oh, this is fun. Hang on! Whoa!
Walt Disney World is known for providing world-class entertainment to millions of people each and every year in its theme parks. But sometimes the best entertainment isn't in the theme parks at all. Sometimes you have to step outside the Magic Kingdom to find a true, somewhat hidden gem on Disney property. My guest on the podcast today just might be the biggest hidden Disney gem of them all. Yehaa Bob Jackson has been amazing and delighting guests at the River Roost Lounge at Port Orleans Riverside for almost 2 decades. His high-energy, fast-paced show is almost impossible to describe. You just have to go see it live. He's a man who never slows down. He knows how to get the audience up on their feet, and he's never had a bad hair day in his entire life. Bob Jackson, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Oh, this is Yehaa Bob Jackson from Port Orleans Riverside, Walt Disney World, saying hello to all my friends listening tonight, today, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world, on the Ear to There podcast. Ear to There podcast, we love you. Ear to There podcast, we love you. Ear to There podcast, it's true. Ear to There podcast, we love you. Oh!
Wow.
Thank you for inviting me onto your show. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you so much for doing it. And for as long as I live, I will never get a better guest intro than you just did. Thank you so much for that. That was the coolest thing ever.
Oh, all right. We can stop right here.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I said we can stop right now. We're being
No, I think I'm ready to call it a night. That's it. All right, Bob.
That's it.
Thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. I need to tell you first and foremost that I'm a huge fan, just huge. I've been coming to your shows since I was like 18 years old. I'm in my 30s now. And I actually proposed to my wife, not at your show, but at the Magic Kingdom right before we came to see your show one night. And since then, we have a 5-year-old and twin 3-year-olds, and we've brought them to see your show several times, and they love it, and they've kind of grown up with you. So thank you so much for being Bob Jackson that we all know and love, and we really appreciate it. We love your show.
It's my pleasure. It's my passion. I love to entertain. I love what I do, and it's just been a great time there at Port Orleans Riverside.
And you can obviously tell that you love what you're doing just because of how much fun you seem like you're having so much fun up there each and every show that we've seen. So let me ask you, how did it all start for you? Were you really into music as a kid, or were you one of the guys that your parents got you piano lessons really early on? Or
it's all I've ever really wanted to do. I've always loved to play the piano when I was young. It's all like I loved it. I was always drawn to the piano. I loved the different sounds, the different chords. I was always experimenting. I took piano lessons, but I wasn't a very good student. I enjoyed experimenting on my own and just playing my own music, although I took lessons all the way through high school. I was a music composition major in college. Now I practice every day, at least an hour. But I've always loved to play the piano, and it's always been interesting to me. And there was never really anything else I ever considered doing other than playing and performing. It's just something I've always loved to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's amazing, and I'm so happy that you did, because we get to listen to you every time we come to Disney now. You're not like me, where I taught myself to play guitar, but I was a terrible teacher, so I can still play about 3 chords on the guitar, and that's it. Let me ask you, how did you get your start with Disney? I mean, I know I was on a college program years ago, and I had to do the whole casting process, and I imagine that didn't work out the same way for you.
Well, I moved to Florida. I moved to Orlando in about 1991, and I started playing at a big club downtown Orlando called Rosie O'Grady's.
Okay.
And there was a trumpet player in the band, and he was subbing out at Disney. He invited me to come out and play, and I joined the band out at the Diamond Horseshoe Show. Right. And that's where I got my start at Disney, playing there at the Diamond Horseshoe Show. And I started there as a sub, and I worked my way up into the 2-day piano chair, and I did that for years there at the Diamond Horseshoe in the Magic Kingdom. And one day I was playing at a club called Blazing Pianos, and there was a pianist there, and he said, "Bob, I'm leaving my place out there at Port Orleans Riverside. Why don't you come and audition?" So I auditioned for Port Orleans Riverside, and one thing led to another, and that was 19 years ago. I've been there at Port Orleans for 19 years. It's just been a great experience.
Wow, yeah, and I think I swear, I think I saw you in your first year, when it was still called Dixie Landings back then, right? Back in when you first started.
Dixie Landings.
Yeah, I remember it. What's really funny is I had one of my favorite things that you do on your show during your show is when the new people come in and they're not expecting it. You ask where they're from, and for me, we're from Philadelphia, so I was there with my aunt, who was in her 40s, I guess, at the time. And you said, "Where are you from?" And she said, "Philadelphia." And you did your whole, "Is anyone else here from Philadelphia?" And the whole crowd went nuts. And my aunt looked at my mom and she said, "Oh my God, they're all from Philadelphia." And I thought that was the funniest thing, because she was like, she just didn't get it. But yeah, I love that part of your show. That I enjoy it every time.
That's great. Yeah, it's a funny bit.
It really is. Yeah, I love it. So let me ask you, the Yehaa Bob character, is that something that you came up with on your own, or is that a collaboration with people at Disney, or did you always kind of have that in your back pocket?
No, I've always had a stage character. In these different shows that I've been in, I've always had a different stage character, and that's the character that I portrayed there at Port Orleans Riverside. I just get into this character. He's kind of a goofy, off-the-wall kind of guy that just can't really understand a whole lot of things, but that's my stage character right there at Port Orleans Riverside. And every night before I walk onto that stage, I leave backstage and I get into character, and I have to portray that guy all the way through the show. Yeah,
it's such a great character, and you hit it out of the park every single night. I don't know how you do it, because I get tired watching you up there. So it's amazing what kind of show you put on every night. I just don't know how you have the energy for something like that. And that's actually another, was kind of lead into my next question was, you have so much energy and it shows like so entertaining every night. How can you keep it up? Like, I've never seen your show, and I am a super fan. I've seen you dozens of times. I've never seen a show where I said, "Oh man, Bob's having an off night tonight. He's not feeling it." You always are on top of it. You're always high energy. I don't know. How do you do it?
I'm just hardwired. This is a Sunday night that we're recording this. I performed last night at Disney and didn't get much sleep. I had to get up, and I performed a church service this morning. And before this podcast, I went for a 10-mile bike ride before the sun went down here in Central Florida. It's I'm hardwired. I just go all the time. I just don't stop. This is all I do.
Wow. Yeah, I have that a little bit. I was just down last weekend at Disney. I did the Star Wars half marathon. I've run in a whole bunch of the distance races for Disney. So I have that a little bit, but I need my downtime. I'm not exactly going like you are. And, we're bringing our kids down, my wife and I, in a few weeks. So we're going to try to sit front and center at your show when we're there. We can't wait. They're already getting all geared up for it, so I'm excited.
You be sure and come up and say hello and introduce yourself.
We will, and I'll make sure they do too, because we have your CD on rotation in our car, and your live show CD, so we listen to it all the time. So I don't know if it's good or bad that my 5-year-old's favorite song is the I Like Beer song, but she thinks it's hilarious. So
oh, good.
But I wanted to ask you too. Do you ever have a bad show? Like, do you ever feel like the crowd isn't into it? Or I just always wonder that with someone who, like you, who's so invested in the performance. Is there ever a time when the crowd just isn't excited or not feeling it?
It's hard to really say. Even though they might not be responding as loud and as enthusiastic as other crowds, they might be enjoying it in their own way. So it's a very subjective thing. You just never know. Every night I go in there and I say to myself, I'm going to put on my very best show. And I walk in there and I put on my very best show that I can possibly do. And knock on wood, so far, we've been on a roll.
Yeah, I mean, you really have. I like I said, I've never seen a bad show, and it really does blow me away every time I see you play. The energy and just how crazy it can get in there from time to time. I was wondering about that too. Has it ever gotten a little too crazy where something like completely unexpected happened while you were performing?
Oh, sure. There's been all kinds of crazy things. I'll get people to stand up and shout and carry on. And one night, there's these chandeliers up there. And one night somebody climbed up on a chair and they were waving their arms around and they knocked chandelier down. I do a conga line. I get somebody to lead a conga line around. Well, whoever was leading the conga line led about 200 people outside, and they didn't come back for about 15 minutes. There's a part in the show where I had people run around. I shouldn't be talking this because I don't want to give anybody any ideas. You guys better not show up and lead people outside that nightclub. But yeah, there's been a lot of just absolutely crazy times.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you get that many people in a little space, and they're tired, and there's a couple cocktails involved, so it can probably get a little crazy. I personally have never seen anything crazy. I've never seen, and I've heard there have been proposals at your show. I've never seen that either. But I'm hoping that like I said, we'll be there in a few weeks, so maybe well, not in front of my kids, but maybe we'll see something nuts. So I have another question for you. This is one that's always blown me away. How do you remember everyone's names? You do it all the time. I don't get how you constantly, and it's not just during the show. I mean, for people who haven't seen you, if they come for multiple nights, you remember night to night everyone's names. It blows me away. How do you do that?
I do. I can remember people's names. I don't know how I do it, but you come back, and I'm going to remember you. And I walk around the room every night before I perform. I do a little meet and greet. I try to get to every table in that room. I try to get to every table and say hello and find out where people are from and if they're celebrating something. A lot of people having birthdays, anniversaries, honeymoons. They've just gotten married. And I try to remember that. And when I get up on stage, I'll try to help them celebrate. I try to work their names into the show, and it's just a lot of fun to include these people into the show. It's just a great experience.
Can I ask you? Is there a certain type of person that you try to single out during the show, or is it just random? You just see somebody and just ask them?
Well, there's certain parts of the show that I try to feature people on. If I've got a part where I try to get somebody to run around the room or run up and down and do something totally out of character, and sometimes I'll pick on the big burly guy with the shorter length hair, the biker kind of fellow. It'd be fun to see. If they're good sports, I try to judge people while I'm walking around the room, see what they're going to be capable of doing, and you just never know what somebody's going to do. So it's always just a lot of fun, and I try to just encourage people to have fun and get them included into the show and what we're doing.
Yeah, as you say during your show, no one has more fun than you guys.
Nobody has more fun than we do.
That's true.
It's true.
So speaking of fun, I have to ask about the piano and how if you haven't seen his show, anyone listening who hasn't seen Bob's show, the piano that you play isn't a standard piano. I mean, that thing is rocking back and forth for almost the entire show. How is that something that you came up with, or is that something that's been around for a while?
It's actually a standard piano. I took the wheels off of it, so it sits flat.
Okay.
And it's an old trick. Guys have been rocking that piano for 100 years. You just push it. I push it with my knee. It sits flat on the floor. It's top heavy, and you just push it, and it goes. And I rock this piano back and forth, and it's a real visual show. I get that thing rocking back and forth. I'm constantly climbing up and down off that piano bench and pacing the floor and pushing that piano. I've got the front of the piano off so people can watch the hammers move. And it's a very visual show, and I just put the pedal to the metal the moment I walk in that place.
Yeah, you just actually kind of reminded me of the I'm so sorry, I'm going to forget the name of the song, but the Bumblebee song that you do.
Bumblebee, yep. I play the Flight of the Bumblebee.
Oh my God, watching you play that and how quickly your hands go, and then watching, like you said, that the hammers on the piano, it blows my mind that anyone could move that quickly. And I listen to it on the CD and I think, man, he can't be playing that fast. And then I see you do it in person. It's unbelievable. It's a cool thing.
It's a cool thing. You just play that thing, and while I'm playing it, I'm rocking that piano back and forth. I'm leaning back into that piano stool, and it's just a wild show.
Yeah, I love bringing people for the first time who haven't seen it. I was down for a business trip last summer, and I was by myself, and I sat at the bar, and I was sitting next to a couple who had been on a road trip, and they were from San Francisco. And they were just staying in the hotel and the resort, and they had never heard of you. And they were watching your show, and I said, "What do you think?" And they were just jaw dropped to the floor. Couldn't believe what they were saying. And I said, "I've known about this for more than half my life. This guy's amazing." And you really are. It's such a cool show, and especially if people don't see it's not advertised. It's not on it's not on a sign outside the resort, and it really should be. You're the main attraction over there. I think that should be in neon lights over there, but I guess that's not how Disney does it.
I appreciate all that, but thank you.
Yeah, no, you really are. It's such a cool show, and speaking of that, just about how cool it is and how the atmosphere is in that lounge itself. I swear I've seen the same bartenders, the same servers over there for years. It seems like it's a big family that you work with. Is that the kind of atmosphere that you have in there?
We've got a great group of folks working with us, and we always have. And I've been there for 19 years now, and it's always been like a family. And they're all great kids. Every one of them are just super people. It's a great group of people to work with.
And I know there's a server that works there. His name's I think it's John, and he's been there forever. I'm not sure if he's still there. I know he was there last summer.
Johnny's been with me for like 16 years now.
Yeah, he's great. I'll tell you what, when I sit at a table, what's great about him is I've never had my beer empty. The guy always, he's on top of it, and he's a great server and a great guy. And I look forward to seeing him just as much as I look forward to seeing you every time I'm in there. So you really do have a cool crew in there.
Yeah, they're a great bunch. Got a great group of people.
You really do, yeah. So in addition to your show over at the Port, you really don't slow down, I don't think, right? I mean, you perform on the other days. Like you said, you did a church service this morning, and you're all over the place.
Busy as I can be. I just came back from Alaska. I was up there. I did 5 shows in 3 days, raising money for the Native American kids going to the Alaska Christian College. In May, I've got another couple of weeks. I'll be flying up to Albany. I'll be performing at a wedding reception up there. This summer I've got 15 different library shows through the course of the summer. The library system hires me to come and perform children's shows at all the libraries here in Central Florida. So I keep pretty busy. It's a great time right now.
That's awesome. And when you do your shows that aren't in Disney, do you stay with the Yehaa Bob character, or do you have to switch it out?
It all depends on who I'm performing for. I've got a children's show that I do for the kids, all children's music, and a lot of times here in Central Florida I'll do senior shows, and I know a lot of music from the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, but I'm always in character. It's easier to perform when you're in character. Sure. I'm always in character. But it depends on the audience, who I'm performing for, as to what type of material I present.
Yeah, I've seen on Facebook, I think, your shows at the villages that you do. Because I had my father-in-law was thinking about moving in there, and I remember seeing it. That was one of my selling points to him. I said, Bob Jackson performed. You have to go there. And he ended up moving somewhere else. But, yeah, I see that stuff all over the place on Facebook.
I do. Those are senior shows that I'm up there.
Yeah. So I really wanted to quickly talk about your blue name tag, which is the Walt Disney Legacy Award you were given, I think, a few years ago at this point.
Yeah, I'd never heard of the Legacy Award, and they walked in one night and they gave me this. I was awarded this Legacy Award. It's a peer recognition award, and I'm just thrilled to have it. It's a wonderful thing, and I just love it. I love to entertain. It's my passion. And here I am. I won that Legacy Award there at Disney. It's just fantastic. And I thank all my cast members, friends, for helping me get that thing. It's just a great thing.
Yeah, and it's for those that don't know, it's really one of the biggest, if not the biggest, honor a cast member can get as far as awards go. So congratulations. I know that was a little while back for you, but that's such a cool thing. And you get to wear that blue name tag forever. For as long as you're a cast member. So, or even if you want to wear it, I guess when you go to the grocery store, you probably could. But yeah, congratulations. That's such a cool thing and such a great honor.
Thank you.
So I'm going to wind down here. I have a last question for you. So is there one song during your Port Orleans show that you really enjoy playing more than anything else? Or is there a big showstopper that you can't wait to get to every night?
There's a couple that I just love to perform. I suppose one of the ones I like to play. I'm the king of the swingers, Jungle VIP. I love that one, and I love. Them 40 features out 1,002. You in luck, 'cause up your sleeve got a band of magic never fail. I love that one. I just love to play. I love to entertain.
Thank you so much for doing that. That's awesome. Now I'm going to have to go wake my daughter up so I can play her this part of the interview because she would be so excited. So Bob, thank you so much for joining me. I really, really, really appreciate it. And we're so excited to come see you in a few weeks. We're gonna get there early so we can sit up front and center with my 5-year-old and 3-year-olds, and hopefully they don't cause too much of a ruckus during your show. But we can't wait to see you. So thank you so much again.
Thank you, Phil, for inviting me on the show. I love every second of entertaining these people. I want to invite everybody, if you're down there at Disney, to come out to Port Orleans Riverside. Come up and say hi. Tell me you heard the music tonight on the Ear to There podcast. I want to thank my buddy Phil, for inviting me on. Ear to There podcast, we love you. 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 Ha-ho! Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Bob. And anyone who wants to get more from Bob, go to yeahbob.com. You can get all the CDs, T-shirts, everything over there. So go check that out right away. And thank you again, Bob. Have a great night. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Phil. Bye.
Bye. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There podcast. Thank you again to Bob Jackson for stopping by and spending a little time with me. The next time you're in Walt Disney World, please swing by his show at Port Orleans Riverside. You definitely won't regret it. All I ask is that if you did enjoy the show, please share it with your friends, share it with your family. Go on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Let people know about it. That would be greatly appreciated by me. Also, please feel free to stop by iTunes and leave one of those awesome reviews over there. I'd really appreciate that as well. Thank you again so much for listening, and please remember there will be a new episode of the Ear to There podcast each and every Monday morning. So like I said, thanks for listening. I look forward to the one next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.